Hi, so I'm currently away from home and I don't have TF2 set up yet, so there's not going to be any footage in this video because I can't record any footage. So you're just going to have to enjoy this, whatever I've decided to put in the background. I'm going to start off by saying I 100% support the Fix TF2 movement. I support Fix TF2, I support all the people involved in Fix TF2, I support petitioning Valve, I've signed the petition, and I'm giving this warning because I'm about to say some off-message things for the movement. I'm going to say some things which maybe are a bit off-message, but I want to get out there right again. This is not necessarily me going out there and saying, oh, why are you even bothering to, like, no. You know, there's no reason not to make a big stink about this and try and get Valve to deal with the issue themselves. There's no reason not to. If they do, it's great. Personally, I'm a little skeptical, but I'm still hopeful. Skeptical but hopeful. It is, you know, abhorrent the way Valve has treated this game and the way they're treating even other games like CS2, for example. It's pretty ridiculous. They shouldn't be allowed to get away with it, and we should be calling them out as much as possible. So just to let you know, this is not me being like super critical of the save TF2 or Fix TF2 movement or anything. I think petitioning Valve is a good idea. However, there is a strange thing going on. There's a bit of a strange approach that I think that the Fix TF2 has, and that strange approach is it seems like a lot of the focus of this second go is, well, last time we just sort of spammed save TF2 everywhere and we weren't very clear. So this time we want to be extremely clear that what we're talking about is the bot issue. So today, on June 3rd, everyone has to spam videos of bots, which is odd because it's acting like Valve doesn't know what the problem is. Valve knows what the problem is. They know more than we do. Like, they 100%, they've always known what the problem is. They knew what Save TF2 was all about. Acting like they somehow didn't know is a bit strange. But, you know, I'm not against it. I'm not against the idea that, well, maybe it's not Valve we're trying to convince. Maybe it's the non-TF2 players. Maybe it's the just sort of random people who aren't really aware of what's going on. And yeah, that makes sense, I suppose. But I'm gonna, in this video, talk about something, I guess, a little more like the underlying issue here. The underlying issue, how could something like this happen in the first place? And this might perhaps affect how you choose to deal with issues like this. And that underlying issue is official servers. And you might think that's strange. Like, it's great to have official servers. But I'm genuinely curious about this. Everyone complains about the bots constantly. Now, I don't really see bots when I play TF2 because I don't play on Valve servers. I don't play casual. I mostly play on Uncletopia like 99% of the time, or maybe on like a Skyle 24/7 Hightower or something, right? Like I pretty much never play casual except for Group Keep, where there's no bots. But I still see people playing casual against bots all the time. Like, you know that the community server browser is right there, right? Like, why are you still playing like, why? I don't understand. What, like, do people really do this? People really want to play like a worse version of the game? For like, why? To play against noobs? Are you like bad at the game and you need to play against noobs to feel good about yourself? I don't really understand. But maybe that's a bit insulting. I'm not trying to imply that, like, oh, we shouldn't have access to the thing that's in the game. Like, yeah, Valve is saying they're providing a service, which is, you know, casual servers, and then not providing that service. That's bad business practices from Valve. But as you as a person, why are you still playing casual in 2024? It's like, do people really do that? It's strange. I want to point out, right, that like for us Zoomers, and I want to say, like, I only started playing TF2 post-bot crisis. I've never known TF2 without bots. It's all I've ever known. But prior to 2011, the Uber update, there were no Valve official servers. There was only community servers, and that wasn't strange. That was just how games worked, right? Counter-Strike 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source, they also have no official servers, and those games were huge, with a massive competitive scene, a massive casual scene. You know, those games were massive and still are huge. I can jump on Counter-Strike Source right now and get into a full server with, you know, a whole bunch of people playing Dust 2 or whatever the hell they want to be doing. I do that a lot. I've played quite a lot of 1.6 and Source. Not as much as I had CSGO, but that's because I mostly play, you know, 1.6 and Source for B-hopping and Surf and KZ and movement game modes. But you can still find loads of servers and they're very active, and it's strange that people act like, you know, community servers don't exist. That's all we had for most of gaming's history. It was, you know, again, TF2 was called the most fun you can have online before casual servers, before quick play servers, before Valve made their own servers. And the thing about this is that when you have, rather than everyone being forced onto the same official servers run by a corporation, the player base is spread out over numerous decentralized community-run servers. It delegates the moderation. Like, there are no cheaters on these servers, or if there are cheaters, they get banned very quickly, because rather than having one company have to pay, you know, for moderation practices over the entire network, which is just unfeasible, each server is managed by a smaller group of people, but per server, there is more moderation. So, of course, you just can't get, I mean, you could probably get away with some non-obvious, you know, closet cheating on certain servers, but generally speaking, it's going to be better, right? Just because if you're cheating, someone can just call an admin, or an admin will already be there, and they just ban you. And then they put you on a ban list, and those ban lists get shared between servers. So, like, it just works. Like, it's the system that worked for most of gaming's history. It still works today. It, like, provably, there are bots on Valve servers, there are no bots in Uncletopia. Like, it provably works. It's just how this, it just makes sense. Obviously, if you are, you know, delegating moderation to, like, small groups that only have to look after a few servers each, right, or one server or a small group of servers, it's just going to be much easier for them to moderate that system than it is for Valve, who wants to cut costs. They're a business, they need to make a profit. They don't want to have to pay a whole bunch of human moderators to actively moderate each server. That's just unfeasible. No company could ever do that. So they have to rely on software moderation, which is just never going to be as good. You know, it can act as a stopgap to help, you know, filter out the most blatant and disruptive cheaters for, you know, to lower the workload on human moderators, but it can never actually replace human moderators. The idea that software moderation could replace human moderators is just a bit silly. I don't know where we got this idea from, but yeah. So there is no perfect system, you know. You're never going to fully stop cheaters in video games. You're never going to fully solve the online matchmaking problem, right? There's always going to be issues. Community servers aren't perfect. Oftentimes, you might have more servers being full, so it's harder to get into a game. You have to, you know, it's a lot more inconvenient to have to, like, scroll through a whole server menu, find a server that's not full, etc., than it is to just press one button that says, you know, play now and load it immediately into a game. It's definitely less convenient to do that. And there were various other issues, but I think when you weigh the pros and cons of community-run servers versus official servers, in my opinion at least, community servers tend to come out on top. And it's not just for the cheating issue. There are other advantages too, and one of these is, have you noticed how, like, every game has kind of turned into, like, hyper competitive esport mode? And are you annoyed at this? Because I'm kind of annoyed at this, right? And I'm someone who, like, I play a lot of Team Fortress 2 because I like to play casually. I like to play a game. Sometimes I like to try hard, and sometimes I like to not try hard. And I remember back when I first got into Counter-Strike, I used to play pretty casually. And over the years, it just became harder and harder to do that because everyone else was tryharding. And the problem is that if you want to try hard in a server full of casuals, it's very easy to do that. But if you want to play casually in a server full of tryhards, you just don't get to play the game. And so naturally, when everyone's forced into the same servers, it pushes everyone towards tryharding because it's the only way that you're actually able to play the game. Once someone starts tryharding and they're good at it, it pushes everyone else to play more and more seriously and so on. Now, TF2 does have a lot of smart game design mechanics to keep the game casual, which I appreciate, and it's one of the reasons I think why the game has lasted so long. But community servers are a great solution to this problem. So let's imagine a few different people. First of all, you've got the stoner. This guy is smoking weed. This guy is just smoking weed and having fun loading up his favorite video game. Then the next person, this is the tryhard. This guy, he is really invested in perfecting his skills. He really wants to get better. He wants to feel that improvement, that self-improvement, that overcoming of challenges. He wants to grind. He wants to play competitively. He wants to win games. He wants to get frags. That's how he likes to play the game. Then you've got the stoner. I already did the stoner. Then you got the socializer. This guy's a good player, an experienced player, but he's not playing the game because he gets satisfaction out of pub stomping and getting frags and getting wins. He's mostly playing the game to hang out with his friends and play together. And then finally, you've got the noob. This is a guy who just installed the game yesterday and has no idea what they're doing. Now, previously, the stoner would end up in a 24/7 2-foot server, and the tryhard would end up in competitive pugs, and the socializer would end up in a server with a tight-knit community. There are many, smaller servers who have very tight-knit communities that talk in Discord these days or over the game chat, where you see the same people over and over, every day. Everyone's friends with each other, that sort of thing. And then the noob would have the opportunity to try out all of these different servers. And the noob might accidentally, but you can imagine, right, that you would never have a situation where someone who knew what they were doing, someone who was experienced with the game, like the stoner, wouldn't load into a pug, 6v6 server, pick, I don't know, what's a funny thing, Hoovy, like the stoner wouldn't load into a 6v6 server and then pick Hoovy, right? And if they did, everyone would get mad at him, and it'd be like, oh yeah, obviously everyone's mad at me because I came into the place where people are trying to play competitively and I'm playing Hoovy. Like, there would just be a silly situation. It wouldn't happen, right? The stoner would end up in his own place. No one would be complaining about him. It would be what it was, right? That sort of thing. It all makes sense. And then the noob can, try out all the different servers, find their server. That was something they used to do back in the day in video games. You used to find your server where you made friends and you had a community with them, whatever. It doesn't happen in casual because now all of these people are forced into the same place. So the tryhard, he's mad because he's got to deal with the noob, he's got to deal with the stoner. They're not even playing the game properly. He's trying to win, he's mad. Meanwhile, the stoner is like, why do you keep killing me? I'm friendly. The noob doesn't know what's going on, and the socializer, it's all going wrong, okay? It's just all going wrong because they've all been forced into the same place when they really don't want to play the game in the same way, and they shouldn't be, funneled into the same servers together. It would be a better experience for everyone if they were, if that wasn't the case. And that used to be how it was, not just in TF2, but in video games in general. Before skill-based matchmaking and, this idea of putting everyone into the same servers together. In Counter-Strike, Counter-Strike right now is inseparable from the idea of, like, esport, competitive, tactical shooter. But back in the day, you have to remember that some of the most, popular Counter-Strike maps were stuff like CS Assault and, an Office, right? And if you've ever played Assault or Office, you know that these aren't exactly maps that are balanced or, geared towards high-level play in any way. Like, if you've played them at all, you know that they're, incredibly one-sided and full of bullshit, wallbangs and also, on Assault and all sorts of insane stuff that just wouldn't fly in the game today, because the point of the game back then wasn't to try hard competitively in order to rank up. It was mostly to jump in TeamSpeak with your friends and hang out, right? It was more of a casual experience, and that's still fun. Counter-Strike is still fun like that. I recommend installing Counter-Strike Source and finding a 24/7 deathmatch server and just hanging out. You know, it's actually a fun, like, a side of the game that just kind of doesn't exist anymore. The casual side of Counter-Strike. Like, even saying casual Counter-Strike is kind of a weird thing to think about. But the game is actually really fun as a casual experience. And the fact that that's completely gone in favor of skill-based matchmaking is sad. Because that was a great aspect of Counter-Strike. And it still is. It still is a great aspect of Counter-Strike in the games which don't have official Valve servers, which force everyone to play in the same way. And so that's my contention, is that the whole reason we have this bot crisis is because people still insist on playing, on clicking the button that says play now, like clicking the casual button, instead of just not doing that. Like, the bots, I hate them. I hate the people who make the bots and run the bots. It's annoying. It shouldn't exist. Though I dislike Valve's approach to dealing with them, which is nothing, / muting free-to-plays, which is stupid. I think everyone agrees that that was bad, right? Like, I dislike all of that, but at the same time, because TF2 is an old game, we still have the option to load into community servers. Many modern games don't support community servers at all. Can you imagine if this had happened in a game like that? It would be, I mean, it would have just killed the game. The game wouldn't live. It would be literally unplayable. And as much as people like to say casual is unplayable, which is true, the game itself is perfectly playable because we have the option to use community servers. And I like the friendship that comes, the social aspect that comes from loading into a community server and seeing the same people every day. And it's like you start to develop, even if you don't necessarily become friends with them. Like, I mostly play on the London Uncletopia servers, right? And there are lots of people, I'm not going to start naming them off, but there are lots of people that I recognize. Every day I go back to London Uncletopia, and I'm like, oh, it's this guy, oh, it's this person, oh, it's this person, right? And even if I don't directly talk to them, there's something nice about that. There's something comforting, and it also means I can get to know their play style, and that's kind of cool as well, right? Does that make sense? Like, you can play around the play styles of different people. Like, you can know this guy's going to chase because they play really aggressive. This guy always goes for high kill streaks, so they're going to play passive. Like, that sort of thing. I don't know. It's just a nice thing. And one final aspect to this community server thing. I'm not saying you should necessarily play on Uncletopia. A lot of people don't like Uncletopia, and I think that's fair enough. There is a lot of reasons one might not like Uncletopia. I have a friend who also mostly plays on community servers. In fact, exclusively plays on community servers. And we play Uncletopia together sometimes, but he mostly plays on this completely other server. I don't really play there very often. I don't really like that server. I don't really like their map rotation. I don't really like the community there very much. But he likes he likes it. And it's just one server. I'm not going to name it because, I just don't feel like it. But, he plays on this one particular server that's in the US. And he loves it there. So that's the sort of thing you can get. It doesn't necessarily have to be an Uncletopia. There are loads of different community servers that you've never heard of, and some that you have. It's not just Skyle and Uncletopia and UGCTF. Like, there are lots of community servers that are small, that have a tight-knit community around them, and so on. And another thing about community servers, which is really interesting, which I think is underutilized, is that, once again, it gives us an opportunity to not care about Valve, to just do things ourselves. Right, we can fix the bot problem ourselves by just banning bots when they join a community server, right? Just having proper moderation. And we can fix the balance of the game, Like, Uncletopia implemented class limits. That is a way of balancing the game in a way that I think most people appreciate. Uncletopia disables random crits. I personally don't really mind random crits on or off. It doesn't really, I'm neutral on the existence of random crits personally. I don't mind the game either way. But a lot of people really hate random crits, and I think that's perfectly understandable. And, in that case, yeah, head over to Uncletopia. Uncletopia has random bullet spread turned off, which is a buff to shotguns. I guess, somehow Uncle Dane thinks Scout isn't overpowered enough, so needs to buff the shotguns. That's fine. You can make weapon balance changes like that. I'm not complaining. I swear, I'm not complaining. I'm not molding about Scout. I do get owned by Scouts a lot. Okay, but look, I'm just bad. And it would be interesting, if Uncle Dane, who's made videos about how the Wrangler's shield is overpowered and the short circuit shouldn't be able to be spammed on the cart, you know, he doesn't have to wait for Valve to implement those changes. He could just do that himself. There are lots of servers with weapon balance mods. You know, he could implement those changes himself if he wanted to, and you wouldn't need to wait for Valve to do that. Like, that's something that we should be exploring more as a community, I think, is even when it comes beyond just cheaters, you know, even to weapon balance changes that we might want to make. Maybe do something about sniper. You know, maybe we could start doing something about sniper. I don't know what. Maybe we could do something. And I know this video kind of sounds like I'm gonna be at the end, and that's why I'm announcing my new TF2 server. No, I'm not doing that. I can't. I don't have the money or time to run a TF2 server right now. But maybe one day. Maybe one day. It's something I've definitely thought about. And if you have the money and time to do so, and experience moderating an online community to do something like that, then maybe it's something you should look into, because more community servers is always good. You know, anything that helps to make the player base less dependent on Valve, you know, who are clearly an incompetent company who used to be able to make good games and at some point lost that ability. You know, TF2 invented kind of the live service model of games, but when it was made, it wasn't a live service game. It was just how video games were back then. It was just like an online arena. It was a class-based arena shooter. Like, you know, there was this one Quake mod back in the day called Team Fortress. I don't know if any of you remember it, but it was a lot like that. Okay, the game was a lot like this one Quake mod called Team Fortress. You know, and it slowly over time evolved to embody this new way of running games, which is like a live service where there's constant updates and weapon drops and cosmetics that cost money and gambling loot crates, and you know, you have to have official servers that are hosted by the developer, and if they ever decide to abandon it, the game's there. But, you know, the thing is that TF2 predates all of that, and the stuff from back when games were good still exists in the core of TF2, and they haven't gotten rid of it. And to give Valve some credit, you know, they've even though the Counter-Strike 2 server browser is completely busted. I know TF2 players might not be aware of the issues facing Counter-Strike 2 community servers, but the server browser in CS2 is like exploitable in a particular way. I don't know how the exploit works, but you can basically have your server's name show up like multiple times, and when you actually click it, it just redirects to like nothing. It's just a fake server. And so, like, if you try and use the server browser in CS2, it's just a whole bunch of fake servers that are all just ads for like gambling websites or whatever. And it's really hard to find like actual community servers. But I mean, I had a lot of fun in CSGO back in the day, playing on like community 1v1 servers and Surf and bhop and HNS and, you know, whatever. The point being that you got to give Valve a tiny bit of credit for bothering to maintain community servers as a thing that exists in their newer games. Do you think Deadlock will have community servers? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt that Deadlock will have community servers, but let's hope. That'll be cool. Anyway, now I'm just rambling about completely other stuff. The point is, you know, I'm someone who generally, if possible, likes to do things. If there's something that the community needs, it doesn't have to necessarily mean in gaming, but just in life. If something needs to be done, I think it's better to just do it yourself rather than trying to get some authority to do it for you, right? Things tend to work better when groups of people just do the thing themselves directly rather than trying to beg some authority figure to do it for them, go through layers of bureaucracy or corporate nonsense and government nonsense. You know, I think it's just better when people do things just themselves. And so we already basically fixed TF2. You know, we have community servers. Now, again, just to really hammer home that I'm not against the fixed TF2 movement, you know, I'm very pro this. It's not a binary choice. You can very easily support community servers and still think that the way Valve has treated this game is unacceptable. You can hold those two opinions at the same time, but it would be nice to see the community come together to big up some of these community servers, to uplift them, to donate to them, you know, to keep their servers running, to create new community servers that you want to see. You know, there's definitely stuff that I would want. There's you know, for example, there are no like 24/7 Harvest servers in EU. That would be something that I would really play on a lot because I like Harvest a lot. You know, if someone out there wants to run a 20, I've thought about it. Okay, maybe one day if I I don't know, get the spare cash on hand, or I feel like I can get donations to run it, I would run something like that. But you know, there's just all sorts of things like this that I think we need to be caring less about Valve and caring more about us. That we as a community have this power to host our own video game. Video games, yeah, video games.